I'm on a ship about to take the greatest shortcut ever built, the Panama Canal. This 50-mile waterway links the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, cutting out an 8,000-mile detour around South America. But why was it built? And why does this still matter? It was an engineering dream that came at a high cost, over 27,000 lives and over $375 million. The canal wasn't just about moving ships, it was about battling disease, landslides, and global politics to change world trade forever. So how did they pull it off? What made it so revolutionary? Join me as we sail through the Panama Canal, unlocking the secrets of this iconic waterway, one lock at a time. Welcome everyone to Traveling on the Go. Today we're going to look at one of the most legendary engineering feats in mankind's history. So we're going to start on the Atlantic side and we're going to go through Colón on Panama. We're going to go through Panama down to Miraflores. It's a 50-mile stretch, and we're going to come out on the Pacific side. So the first simple question, what is the Panama Canal? Now this is a shortcut, probably one of the greatest shortcuts ever, that's going to bypass the southern part of South America, connecting the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean and giving you just a very quick and easy way, a lot easier than before, to get to the other side. But why was this 50-mile epic canal built in the first place? So every year between 12,000 to 14,000 ships pass through the Panama Canal. Now that averages about 35 to 40 ships per day coming right here. So the Panama Canal is around 50 miles long. Now depending on the ship size, if you're talking about how much it actually costs to come into the Panama Canal, it ranges from 40,000 up to 450,000 depending on weight and the size of the ship. Let's look at how much money is saved by ships going through the Panama Canal. Now just fuel and time, the savings is over $600 per ton. That's $180,000 to $480,000 in fuel. Crew and operating costs, basically if you're saving 10 to 20 days at sea, it's between $250,000 to $1 million. So the amazing factor, each ship has a clearance of under 2 feet on each side. Sometimes it's smaller than that. You can see right there under 2 feet. This is our ship as we were going through. This is out of my room and you can see down at the bottom, there's very little clearance, especially when we get to the end. I have a shot going up and again, you can see there's barely any difference. So there are three main locks, and I'm just going to read them off to you. The Gatun Locks, Pedro Miguel locks, and the Miraflores locks. And a lot of these locks you're going up and down. There's different elevation along the way. This is why this canal was so difficult to build. So let's take a closer look at the three main locks. We're going to start out with the Gatun Lock as we go past Colón. It's going to raise 100 feet, then to the Pedro Miguel Lock. It's going to lower 30.5 feet, and not far away Miraflores is going to raise or lower 54 feet, and that's going to bring us all the way through. We are going to pass the Gatun Lake, which is a man-made lake. As we go through this canal, we're going to start in the Atlantic Ocean. Now that's going to take about 1 hour to get to Gatun. And then we're going to go 4.5 to 6 hours, Gatun to the Pedro Miguel Lock, 2 to 2.5 hours to reach Miraflores, and then it will be done. It takes an average of 8 hours to get through the Panama Canal. So coming up first, we have the Gatun Locks as we approach the Panama Canal. So we're getting into the first lock. You're going to see the boat straight ahead to the right that's higher up. So once we get into the first lock, they're actually going to elevate us up to the height of that other boat you see in the right-hand corner. And it maybe takes around 15 minutes, what I heard. and we will be that high as we slowly go over kind of some foothills and back down to the other side through a number of locks as they elevate us up. So unlike the Suez Canal that the French built, when the French arrived here, they had no idea about the terrain, very mountainous, a lot of jungle, all that green, a lot of elevation going up and down, a little bit of mountains, foothills, and they were not prepared for this, the French. And that's when the Americans took over. Now, prior to that too, the malaria and yellow fever epidemic rampant, especially in the designated areas of the hospital that the French kind of put aside, putting in a lot of small trees and plants, thinking that everyone was getting sick from the yellow fever and the malaria due to the air, but actually it's from mosquitoes, especially the yellow fever coming over the mosquitoes from Africa. And this created a huge problem, killing up to 27,000 people, most of the workers from the Caribbean and around this area. So the Panama Canal was finished in 1914. It took the Americans around 33 years to finish it. Prior to that, the French tried for 8 years due to yellow fever, malaria, and just some bad techniques. The French ended up giving up, and the Americans took over. So the story goes for the history of the Panama Canal. The Americans who ended up coming in and building it, they reserved the rights to it. And in return, the people of Panama here, this area, actually belonged to Colombia. But then Colombia had to give up the rights to this. The Americans took this area over, granted Panama its independence. They had their own country, and then they kind of moved forward after that. Now in 1999, the Americans actually gave up the Panama Canal and gave it back to the people living here in Panama. So I'm going to take you into the Pedro Miguel lock, and there'll be a couple different shots, and I'm going to explain one in particular. There's our ship from above. You're going to see in just a moment. I'm going to explain how I got this shot. But this lock was pretty good. It took us about 40 minutes to get through it. And then we were on to the Miraflores lock, the last one to kick it all off. Just an amazing experience. You can see the main station right there for the last lock. And we went through 3 sets of locks here and made our way through. This was the front. Now it's the back of the ship pulling away. There was a nice time lapse to kick off this whole experience and finish it off. So let's continue on. What's going on, guys? So there is a way to actually see the ship you're on from above. When you go to each port, I'm going to tell you about this later, but definitely it's very cool. I thought someone had a drone. Drones are not allowed on ships, but I'm going to tell you the secret a little bit later. So if you go to multimedia.panama-canal.com, you can see a webcam up on top of a mountain, and it's going to show you what the ship looks like at each lock. There's 3 main sets of locks, and you can get a bird's eye view of your ship going through the lock. I found this by just talking to someone on deck, and it's very cool. And then you can see exactly what the terrain looks like, and obviously the little canal area itself and the locks. Hey guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this video on the Panama Canal. I had a great time filming the whole episode and going through the Panama Canal. At the very end here, you see the Bridge of the Americas, which was just phenomenal. We have a lot of different videos coming up, like the deserts of Dubai, and one of my favorites, Brazil and Argentina into Iguazu Falls. You never know unless you try. I'm out of here, guys. Bye.